Welcome to the Becoming Superhuman podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Schmidt. I was trained in Western medicine as a physician assistant, where I was exposed to the dark side of medicine. Through self-education and biohacking, I figured out ways to hack my system, becoming a better version of myself. We'll explore the wisdom and insight of my findings with each episode of the Becoming Superhuman podcast. All right, and welcome. Today we have a special guest, Mr. John Graham Harper, from the CEO of LumaFlex. Welcome, John. How's it going today?
Very good. I like your setup. You've got a nice background there. I didn't really prepare well for this, did I?
That's okay. So, John, LumaFlex, my understanding is it's a red light therapy, a red light, and it seems to be more for athletes. Can you talk a little bit about what your company does?
Well, it's a portable red light therapy panel. I've got one right here.
Uh-huh.
I believe that where red light therapy can really be a game changer is when it's easy to access, anytime, anywhere on the go. Right. I was a former athlete. Like, as we were talking before, I opened up gyms. I did competitive rugby. I did CrossFit. I got into amateur boxing. I did bodybuilding, and just traveling a lot and always needing things on the go. I used red light therapy to help with a lot of these injuries that I suffered. It was introduced to me by my wife. But the device that I used back then, was like 6-7 years ago, was it was this long lamp that was attached to the ground. It was quite cumbersome. It was hard to use. Right. So obviously a need for something that was more portable for an athlete to have in their gym bag. And that's where, LumaFlex was developed. So this is the Body Pro. This is sort of the flagship product. We launched with this about 8 months ago. It uses a flexible silicone panel. Flexibility is important because now it can mold to joints and muscles.
Right.
Maximizes treatment. And so it's flexible, it's durable, it's portable, and this one in particular is waterproof. So I've tested it in all kinds of environments, all kinds of temperatures, and it's pretty strong. You just click the panel, and there it has red and infrared light treatment that you can aim at the pain.
Right. So, I've personally been using red light, for recovery, and I have one at my house, one of those big panels that's just on a wall. So I've been using it, but can you kind of explain, why we use red light and what's the benefits?
Red light started years ago with NASA. They were using it to grow plants in space. The astronauts they saw that it was healing abrasions in their skin. And that's where it started to be used in medical for wound healing. So that was red light. It doesn't go as deep as infrared light. Uh-huh. If you were like in a car accident, or you got a cut on your face, or you're punched in the face, you could use red light to help heal. And then that's when it got into beauty, because it boosts collagen in your skin. So have you seen the ladies with their LED masks on TikTok? Yeah. So that's using light to be able to boost collagen in your skin and make you look younger. So that whole anti-aging space kind of kicked off. But now it's more prominent in sport for pain management and also for performance enhancing. Uh-huh. So if you are an athlete and you're going to go compete and you're using red light to get your cells, energized, you actually have an advantage. This is an article that was written, I think it was 2016. There's a couple of articles about the unfair advantage of red light therapy in competitive sports, because not only does it help support recovery, injury prevention, pain relief, but also it can be a performance boost. And that's because of mitochondria, right? We as human beings, we're made up of cells. The powerhouse of the cell, the mitochondria, and the wavelengths of light, it's at that right length to be able to penetrate your skin and activate that mitochondria, to give that mitochondria energy. Mm-hmm. So when the mitochondria has energy, the cell can do its job. The cell can perform better, it can recover. And this is why it's used now a lot in sports. But the panel that you're using, you can't necessarily take that with you and use it anywhere. And it's kind of the design of it. I'm not saying that it doesn't work, but it's just, I believe the future of red light therapy is devices that are a bit more accustomed to us and our lifestyle, rather than us getting accustomed to the device. So standing in front of a panel can be a little bit It can be annoying. Maybe it isn't something that a lot of people would do, with ease or, on a consistent basis. So that's why I thought instead of getting, stand in front of a panel, bring the panel to you and have it to where you can like do your, you can watch TV, watch your kids, you can go about your daily things, right? And have the device attached to your body.
Right.
All devices are good. It's just different applications, right? It's just what is it that you need it for, and what's your sort of daily routine, what's your regime, and then you can fit that that device to you, right?
Right. Now, do they have, I'm sure there's studies on this. I know that there are, but you mentioned some like some like catchwords that have been thrown around in conjunction with the red light, like the mitochondria and the wavelength and the penetration. How exactly does that work? And then also, how is one red light different than another?
Oh, I mean, red and infrared light is all to do with the nanometers. It's to do with like the length of the actual light. So infrared light goes quite deep. Let's say it's like 800 plus is infrared light. Under that, is red light. So then it goes from surface, it goes deeper, and then you're targeting like joints, deep muscle, joint pain, chronic pain, pain that's very, very deep in your body. That's what infrared can do. But as far as there being actually clinical studies on it, there's thousands. I think there's over 10,000 different studies that have been done on different human conditions and the benefits of red and infrared light for those conditions. And the studies that really shine out, and what I believe that, when you have a photobiomodulation scientist or doctor, when they get up on stage and they do a talk about red and infrared light, usually the talks that get everyone up and clapping and all excited are the ones that are about pain management and how it's been used to reverse pain, eliminate pain, and steer people away from using pharmaceuticals or using, or even worse is, getting surgery. So that's, even though there's so many benefits to red and infrared light, like since the beginning of time, it's from the sun. We all know it's, optimal time to get our red and infrared light is at sunrise and sunset, because that time of the day, that's when that light is at that right wavelength to be able to penetrate your skin, right? But not everybody gets up at that time and doesn't spend the time outside to get those rays of light. Maybe a lot of people don't have access to sunrise and sunset, given the weather, 30 degrees away from the equator. But yeah, it's something that is now we have access to it. The technology, the nanometers, this device here, these LED chips have programmed with red, which is 630 nanometers, and 850 for infrared. So it's a dual LED chip that provides both those nanometers for short wavelength and deeper long wavelength. So it's tried and proven, and it's out there, and it's being used not just in beauty and in the sports world, but obviously in the medical world, where it's been reversing serious chronic conditions, and it's something that all the doctors are raving about. Some people that I would recommend looking up are Andrew Herberman, Gary Brecka. He's a big he endorses red light therapy a lot. Joe Rogan's a big one. Ben Greenfield, some of these guys, they're all about red light, and it's all good, and it just depends on, like I said, what it is that you need it for. What's the application that you need for your life, right? If you're an athlete, I think portable is something good to have in your gym bag. If you're just someone at home that isn't necessarily active, doesn't really have pain, but you still need to get your light, you still need to get your cellular energy, then maybe a panel works, or a bed. There's a lounger that I know that is more suited, to somebody's actual lifestyle, where they can lay on the bed, not like a sun tanning bed, which is sort of like a treatment thing. It's in your home, or it's in your gym. You use it and then you leave it, and it's something that kind of takes you out of your daily routine. But there are beds now that are very ergonomic, they sort of sit you up, and you can watch TV, watch the kids, maybe work on your computer. There's designs and innovation coming to the space, which are really exciting now. And it's bringing red light therapy into every aspect of anyone's home. I predict like in 5 years, there'll be at least 3 devices in everyone's home, whether it be beauty, pain management, they'll have at least 3 devices in each room.
Huh, that's interesting. So I've seen a lot of different products out there, right? And they're offering different functionality, as you were saying. Yours is a smaller, more functional, flexible, waterproof, and then the beds are different things. So like, when someone's looking into getting red light therapy, is there a differentiation that they need to be concerned about? For example, price wise, I know there's like a wild price range difference between some of the higher end stuff from some of the lower end stuff you can find on Amazon. What's the
Yeah, yeah.
difference between those?
I would just look for red and near infrared nanometers, not just one or the other. Um, I guess with the device itself, it depends. Like this is silicone, so obviously it's extremely durable. It's not going to break. But sometimes you'll find on Amazon, you'll find textiles like cloth. Cloth I didn't like because it's hard to clean, and like you said, it can break. Sure, maybe Amazon has a price point of like $100 to $30, but it's maybe something that just won't last. It just
Right.
So if you are someone who it just all again just depends on your daily life and your habits.
Mhm.
But usually, the more expensive they are, the more durable. There's something that you're going to have for a very, very long time. And then also think like the panels. To be honest, I really don't like the idea of having something that you have to stand in front of, and you're counting the time. I don't. This isn't. I believe is the future.
Mhm.
If you bring the panel to you, like something I want to develop is sort of a long panel that is flexible. You can roll it up and you can basically lay down and put it on top of you.
Mhm.
That's something I feel that people would use more. I've seen products where people are sitting in front of it or they're holding it. And I mean, if you're able to do that, if that suits you, then that's great. But keep in mind, like red and infrared light, it's like every day you need clean water. Every day you need regular exercise. You need good sleep. Think of light as another thing that you need every single day. So try not to go a day without sunlight. Andrew Herberman says the first thing you should do when you wake up in the morning is go out and your eyes should be, exposed to natural sunlight. So if you're able to look at a device that suits your life and that is able to get you that red and infrared light every single day, regardless of whether or not you have a condition, I think that's what you should be thinking about. That's how you should sort of plan out your purchasing.
What's the recommended time that people would be utilizing this?
I guess it all depends on the condition, right? If you have a serious pain, everybody's pain is different. Everyone's recovery rate is different. That's the great thing about human beings. We're so different from each other. It's kind of like our greatest asset is the differences we have with each other. I've seen devices that are not even 100th of the power of the LumaFlex, and they've cured like a 10-year long pain condition with a senior. And then I've seen, guys that are very active, they train a lot, their body is kind of used to recovering and training, they take a little bit longer. So what I usually recommend is like get your daily dose, let's say 20 minutes every single day. So with the LumaFlex, you have a 10-minute timer built into the battery. So that would be, 2 times. But if you do have some pain, if you are like you have some arthritis pain, right? I would do up to like 4 times a day, 10 minutes each time for 2 weeks. And then every day you can give yourself a little pain rating. You can say 1 to 10, where's my pain at now? And you can kind of track where your pain is. And, some people are very connected to their bodies and they understand, how their body responds. Usually athletes are very much like that. But people that are not so active, maybe they don't, they're not as in touch with their body. They go through their days and they don't really like that. Maybe they take a lot of medication. Maybe they do, that's something that they understand and appreciate when it works. But you do need to be quite connected to your body to understand the reaction that you're having to red light. I have noticed that. But I always just say like 2 weeks, at least 40 minutes, which is 10 minutes with the LumaFlex 4 times a day. If you have serious pain, I think that is something that I generally give this out as sort of a very broad recommendation to everyone, because you can't really overdose on it. You can't, you can't get hurt. So I always kind of overshoot a little bit. I haven't seen anyone with a pain condition, regardless of how severe, make it, go past those 2 weeks and still, have, a very significant drop in their pain from, let's say, like 10 to 4, 10 to 3, or even 10 to 2, right?
And would the reason why the pain goes down is that the red light is helping to decrease inflammation? Is that the premise?
That's right. Decrease inflammation, increase blood circulation, and increase ATP, right? So these three mechanisms, that's where we get all of the outcomes of what red and infrared light can do. I mean, it can even can grow your hair, boost testosterone, right? Help your body's natural SPF. But yeah, like the growing your hair thing, that's another whole topic. But it's just exactly that. It's a very anti-inflammation solution that is natural and non-invasive. Right. So if you think of an ice pack, right? What do we use ice packs for when we're injured? This is like the new ice pack. In the future, people will, I'm not saying they won't do any, form of cold therapy, but they will at least combine it with red light therapy. They'll be doing it at the same time.
Right. And speaking of, combining treatments, I know there's a lot of other energy-based medicine or treatments like PEMF. I just read a book on the methylene blue. And these
I know methylene blue. Yeah,
used in conjunction with the red light. So, what's your experience with that?
Yeah, I met a company that does methylene blue, and they've joined. We have a bit of a collective. We have a group of brands that all do different applications of red and infrared light, and they're kind of part of that collective because there is studies that show that in combination they help cellular energy and performance. So I've been taking methylene blue maybe for just a couple of weeks. It's interesting though, because when you take it, have you noticed you pee blue, right?
I haven't. I literally just read the book this last week, and the guy that wrote the book on methylene blue, he also wrote a book on red light therapy, which I had read, in the past. So I'd ordered the stuff, the methylene blue on Amazon. I haven't received it yet, but I hear it turns your pee blue. So
yeah, you'll see. It's funny. It's there. Yeah, I think it's yeah. Is there a noticeable difference in my? I mean, I guess I would say yes. Like I haven't stopped taking it. I don't plan to not take it anymore. But there are other ways to stack, right? Which is so great about the biohacking world. If you're inside in these communities and you're paying attention to all these different people, you can try and get your feet wet with these different treatments and bring them all together. But yeah, methylene blue and red light therapy, definitely those are a great combination, a winning combination.
And do you have any information about why they're good together, or what's that like methylene blue? What's your understanding of methylene blue? How that's actually working?
Very surface area. Like I've asked, and I actually am going to go meet those guys with those companies. I'm going to meet them in Dallas on the 14th of April, I believe. So this is when I'm going to say, okay, lay it on me. How does this work? I've done up till then. I would have done almost over a month with it, and then I could I would actually recommend. They have a podcast which I can send you later, but I haven't deep dived into it yet. I'm doing guinea pig on myself for at least a month, and then I'm going to go see them in Dallas.
Right. Yeah, it's just funny how we do this as biohackers, right? We're the test lab.
Yeah.
So I've been trying a bunch of stuff, and so I mean, whatever I'm doing is working. So when people say, "Well, does that work?" Well, shit, all the stuff that I'm doing is working. I feel I'm an athlete. I run a lot. I play soccer still, and I'm sore all the time, and I'm always trying to recover as fast as possible. So I think all this stuff works, but in a way, I don't really know exactly how it works or why it works, and so that's why I'm trying to figure out and have a vocabulary to explain to people, because a lot of people they don't believe it until they have logical reasons why to believe it.
Yeah, I mean, it's each to their own, right? It depends on your condition and what it is that you're trying to achieve. I think people that are athletes, they're in a bit of a separate category because you're trying to physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually take your whole, self to another level, right? That you're not just like working out to maintain. You're actually trying to, get faster, get stronger, so there, a little bit of experimentation for that category, I think, is always wise. It's always good advice. But for your average person, I try not to get too, make it too complicated, because then they just, throw in the towel and they're just like, this isn't for me.
Right.
I think that's always wise if you're, you're part of the biohacking world, or you're stepping in and you do have a fellowship of people like your friends, your family that are interested, and they're like, how can I get optimized, right? Everyone is getting optimized. How can I join this train? Just give them little bits of, little to-do list, right? Do this step one, do this. Don't sort of overload them with a bunch of stuff. That's something that's worked for me in the past, and that's what I communicate to everyone else.
Right.
Methylene blue, let's see. everyone listening, do your own research. Let's see. Yeah, I'm definitely interested to deep dive into that side.
Yeah, the thing that interests me about all this stuff is that there's no like methylene blue. There's a bunch of studies, but it seems to help everything, and when I was in school, methylene blue was just a dye that they used for in biology lab, and apparently they said when they were dyeing things like cancers and bacterias and viruses, it was like it was killing all that stuff and and making things better. So. It's interesting to see how that's going to work. Are you familiar with hydrogen peroxide and how that's been used?
No, no, no. Tell me about that. How does that work?
So hydrogen peroxide is H2O2, so it has it's not, H2O, it would be water, so it has the additional oxygen molecule. So apparently when you ingest the hydrogen peroxide, the extra oxygen shears off and then hyperoxygenates your system. So it's like oxygen therapy, similar to like ozone therapy or hyperbaric chamber would be oxygen therapy. So we're trying to hyperoxygenate the cells
Mm.
which oxygen is used for the energy in the ATP, which, kind of circles right back around to the red light therapy and PEMF, which is trying to increase more energy in the cells.
Yeah. That's part of your protocol. Do you have like a protocol that
It's
you recommend?
so there's a book on it, the hydrogen peroxide. It's something like I forgot what it's called. It's something like the miracle cure or something like that. And there was actually a protocol in the book that I went through, and it's one of those things like I don't really have a lot of chronic problems myself,
Yeah.
but I just try the stuff, and see if it works. And my wife and I went through the protocol. It's like a month or something like that, or 6 weeks, where you're taking increasing doses of the hydrogen peroxide, and you're just basically building it up in your system. And similarly, the hydrogen peroxide, just like we already knew, you put it on a cut and it kills all the bacteria and stuff. Well, coincidentally, when you ingest it, it does the same things. It kills bacteria and viruses, and basically optimizes your body. And
Oh,
they're calling it the miracle cure is in this book, so because it's similar to all these other things, it seems to help everything,
yeah.
and there's all these different studies on it that are showing the benefit. So I mean, in the new way of going forward in the future, the way that we treat ourselves and on a daily basis, I think that there's just protocols and things that we could do, like the red light. You just add that stuff on, and it's just part of your daily function, right?
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we were all of us we're just trying to get back to how we were as humans during caveman times, right? When we were at our best in history, right?
Right.
And yeah, it's because you have like the athletes, right? The athletes, their job is to like perform better and recover faster.
Mhm.
Then you have like people that are unwell, right? Diseases. You have to, we're thinking, how can we prevent these diseases from happening in our species, and then also completely cure diseases like cancer and that.
Right.
And then you have on the other side, you've got like, how can we live longer, right? These are kind of like the three buckets that you can think what because at the end, I know a lot of people that just get loads of sunlight, drink loads of water, they exercise, and they just keep it simple, and then they're super healthy. And then I know some people that they have all the tricks and all the magic potions, and still they're off, right? They're not quite like whole, not physically, mentally, and emotionally like well.
Right.
Um, so it's kind of each to their own. Everyone, you have to sort of think, what am I doing this for? Am I trying, what's my end goal? Am I just sort of experimenting? Do I just want to feel better? Or, what's the root cause of me feeling better? Should I perhaps like just spend some time off my phone? Is maybe that will help me, just get more sunlight, just go out and, walk in the sun. But for an athlete, they're like a little tiny percent better means a lot on the field, right? Or a lot on the track or the court, right? It means such a big amount. The athletes they're sort of paving a way, for a lot of these treatments.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems to me, just from my experience, that it's not one thing. It's not like you're going to do just red light and all your problems are going to be solved, or just ozone or whatever the case. It seems like is you got to cover all the different angles. And the truth is, I don't think we really know what the problem is. We're just kind of it's like throwing crap against the wall and see what sticks.
Yes, yes, that's the phase that we're in right now, right? It's sort of an explosion of these optimization biohacking tricks and tips, right? And it's just all, it's everywhere. You're scrolling, or if you're just online, this information is everywhere. It's not really collected and formulated yet, but it's like an information dump that everybody's jumping on, right? Like every call, like just now, what you're telling me, there's always something new. And you were like, oh, I got to go learn about that, right?
Right.
But it's an interesting phase that we're in, and it just means, the more educated you are, the more you can sort of filter down and see what works for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like my role in this industry right now is part of the education process, and to share, I'm educating myself, and as I'm educating myself, I'm trying to, speak more on it, and, help people and give them, I think it's about utilizing language that's understandable by the common person, because this is not even medical language, like I come from a medical background, and this is not the medical language. It's a totally different language. And I don't think,
Yes.
like when we say the word mitochondria, I learned that in school, but I don't really know what that means. Like I don't know what does that mean to my daily life, when my daily activities, what am I doing? They say it increases the energy, but I'm not, I remember the Krebs cycle and all that stuff, but it doesn't really mean a whole lot to me. And if it doesn't mean a whole lot to me and I know what it is, and I can assure you it doesn't mean anything to most people.
Exactly. You got to package it. The packaging is so important. If you want to reach the masses, you have to make it sort of digestible. You have to really make it sort of little bit by little bit, drip feed people, right? To make them interested, to get them invested, right?
Right. So, since you've been in the industry, how long have you been doing this? You said for a few years now?
Um, let's say about a little over 2 years in development for LumaFlex, and then about 8 months launched. Yeah, about eight. Yeah, we're coming up to maybe 9 months now, actually.
So, in your experience, I mean, being in the red light industry, how has that kind of progressed over the years, and come to where we are now?
I think it just accelerated in the last year, really. Like I think it just only in the last year did it sort of accelerate. I guess I notice it more because when you're building a brand, and you're engaging with other people that do red light therapy, or you're sort of looking at other devices that are out there, defining your point of difference, right? You start to see more and understand more. But yeah, I would still say, like, within the last year, it did accelerate a bit, but it's been going. I mean, it's been in use for, I mean, when was that Ben Greenfield Men's Health article that he did where he proved how it, raised his testosterone? I think it was like 8 years ago when
Yeah.
it started to get more mainstream. But then I also, as you are in red light therapy more and more, you meet people and they talk about, oh, I was doing this 50 years ago and I was one of the first, so it's just social media obviously is a big help, right? To get the information out, to make it trendy. It has to be trendy, right? That's the whole LumaFlex brand, is like creating a device that is, it's packageable. It looks interesting. It looks like something you'd want to have.
Right.
But yeah, it has really exploded, I would say. And it's over the next 5 years, like I said, I think it's going to be everywhere. Like
Yeah.
I've talked with some major organizations in sports and fitness that are determined to have red light therapy as part of their organization, to have a product that they offer, because they know the demand and they know the clinical research behind it, and they know that a lot of athletes are already using it, and they want to also now provide that as their organization, or as their company.
Right.
So it's gonna be, when you really start to to see the traction, is like when you go get a Starbucks coffee and the lady's like, she's like, what do you do? And you say, and you're like, oh yeah, I use that at home. Or like your Uber driver, when he's like, oh yeah, I've got one at home. That's when you're like, wow, okay, I think we're really almost at the top of the wave.
Yeah. I started doing this whole biohacking thing, I would say maybe like 6 years ago. I went to the biohacking conference. It was out in, it wasn't that, was it Dallas, or I don't know. Anyway, I went there, and I saw all these technologies way back then, and then I took that information, I started trying to implement into my life. But then I keep going to the conferences, and you see the businesses that stuck around, right? Because they were
Yeah.
successful. And then there's some of them fall off the wayside, and um, aren't working as well. But there's a big push now, and there's been the use for like cryotherapy for inflammation. Um, in your experience, is the cryotherapy or or even ice for that matter, is it best used in conjunction with the red light or how does that work?
I think it's each to their own. Like this, I've used this in ice baths because it's waterproof.
Okay.
So I wanted to create a device that was for the super athlete, right? That is can take it anywhere. You can take it on your safari trek, or a Marine can have it in his bag when he goes on duty. But like to use it during, I think that I've been exposed, I've been sent articles where using cold and red light together has its use cases. But other than that, I would just do it directly after. I would just always end with red light. I would do, and I'm not really big on cryo. I like really cold, like ice baths. And when you do cold ice baths and you go into cryo, it doesn't seem as cold. I don't know. I guess it has a different use case, but I'm not a big fan of cryo. Like if I see a cryo, what do you do? But if I see an ice bath, I'm like, how cold does it go? Let's try this.
Yeah, no, definitely. So I played soccer in college, and I remember we would finish up a training session and barely be able to walk. And then you jump in an ice bath, 20 minutes later, you're up and at 'em and you
Yeah,
feel
you're good to
a
go.
rock star. And
Yeah.
so I've been on the ice kick for, a couple decades now. And so that's always been important. And now, now with the ice plunge and Wim Hof and, making popularizing that, it's like, okay, well, I've been doing this for a while. And so now this is my language. I understand this.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the Wim Hof, right? The whoo, ha, who he does
Yeah.
this thing. He does the breathing and everything. I had a Wim Hof coach put me through a session some months back. I enjoyed it. It was really good. I appreciated it. But at the end of the day, I like doing the cold. Just like you, I like the response that you get after you get out of the cold. Like if you're training, you don't have that information. But I also like that sort of mental thing where it's like you see how cold you can go, and you practice sort of steeling yourself and seeing how long you can go in the back. I like that. It's like a little daily challenge, which is always healthy,
Yeah.
to your life.
Yeah, definitely the psychological, it's and that was, something that helped me psychologically just through like running long distances. Like I don't know if you've read David Goggins' book or you're a fan of him, but
Yeah,
like he's pushed himself so far beyond, and it's like it's really all just psychological. You feel like there's a perceived limit, and your brain starts to tell you, I gotta stop, I gotta quit. And the same thing when you get into the ice bath, your brain's like, my feet are gonna freeze,
yeah,
my the blood's gonna be like icicles, or so like psychologically you'll think in this stuff and you feel like I got to get out. And but then if you can just push through a little bit longer, you realize that for one, you're not gonna freeze, you're gonna survive, and then you can just withstand and
yeah.
tolerate the discomfort. And I think the more that you can tolerate the discomfort, it allows you to um to tolerate more within your life of everything, right? Of all discomforts.
Yeah, I watched a Andrew Huberman podcast where he was talking to David Goggins, and he told him about this part of your brain that if you give yourself if you do something every day that you don't want to do, this part in your brain grows, like you develop this area in your brain. And I got really excited about that. And he said it does, like if you're doing something like ice baths or workouts, and then you start to enjoy it, it won't grow. You always have to make sure you're doing something that in some way challenges you or scares you, or you
Right.
specifically just don't want to do. Can be anything, right? But I always like that with the ice bath, because you want to do it because you like what happens afterwards. You like that, oh, wow, finish, feel great. But if it is that right, that you got to make sure it's cold, right? To where that you go into it, that you're like, oh, you don't want to, like you're physically, your body is saying, get out, let's get out, right? I like that, it's something that you can do on a daily basis just to help develop that part of your brain, that keeps you resilient, that keeps you creative. Also, it has there's a good benefit to growing that part of your brain.
Right.
But I really appreciate that. I like to, use the ice bath just for that purpose. Like you said, just a mental thing. Right.
Yeah.
David Goggins still is the greatest savage in the world, right? He still wins. He's a beast.
Yeah, totally. Um, Wim Hof, there was actually clinical studies that they put him through, because he was making all these claims that he would be able to do these things. And so they did studies on him. And as it turns out, the cold therapy, he can affect the like hormonal changes within the body. So, like my purposes was always inflammation, but apparently the cold therapy helps you to, modulate your body and, affect, and it's almost like training your body. So when the cold, it constricts everything, so it pushes all the blood back towards the center of the core, and then the
Yes.
heat allows everything to relax back out. So it's almost like training your vascular system in a way that
Yes.
we don't train as an athlete.
Yeah, he's a different human being. Hey, Wim Hof, the Iceman. He's a very he's a special person, right? Because it was his wife that passed away, right? And then it was how he dealt with that loss. He
Mhm.
went into the cold and he sort of discovered sort of this inner ability, which now he like communicates, and it's every us is all it's he's sort of I don't want to say the word popularized this, using cold therapy to, achieve sort of inner strength or sort of a greater, stronger spirit. But he did make that more well known, which is because of his loss, right? The loss in his life. He
Right.
was able to, develop this skill, this protocol, right? This train, and then he's communicated it out. People have used it for, everything as simple as just anti-inflammation. Other people have used it to deal with trauma. I like that story, right? That same with David Goggins is he's got his trauma story and how he, developed a plan, a system, and then now he's teaching it. And some people are using it just to, be hard. And other people are like, oh, this might be the solution to do. I've tried everything else. This might be the solution to help me with my trauma. I always like those sort of how that, people like that have used what they've learned and they packaged it like we were talking about before, where they packaged it so that it can be used for a wide group of people.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I mean, I think we all have these like perceived pain points, and it's like our monkey mind tells us, like when you're getting the ice bath, your monkey mind's telling you like you're gonna freeze to death, get out. And so, but I think in real life, we get the same thoughts in our mind, like this is gonna be too hard, or I'm not smart enough, or whatever the limiting beliefs are that you have. I mean, that's the muscle that you're training, is to be able to get over those thoughts. And
Yes.
I think doing these different modalities help you to get past those thoughts and then experience a different level. So
Yeah.
like, yeah. But
Yeah.
I
What would you say is like out of all the different like in all the years that you've been biohacking, optimizing, right? What were sort of the ones that for you specifically sort of had the biggest result, had the biggest feedback?
Well, diet nutrition is, man, it's by far the most effective. And so, the cleaner I've gotten with the diet, the better everything has gotten. So, and what I mean by that is we say, like the sugar and the carbohydrates are bad for us, but the truth is there's sugar and carbohydrates in pretty much everything. And so becoming more conscious of where you're being exposed to, also that like the toxins that we're exposed to toxins in everything. And at these, biohacking conferences, I've found that there's different, we're being exposed even more than I thought we were.
Yeah.
So as part of the biohacking, they're talking about like filtering out the air, filtering out the water that we're drinking, um, all the chemicals that we're putting onto our body, whether it's lotions or makeups or deodorant. So the more I become more conscious of the toxins and start systematically eliminating the toxins, I think that's made a big difference over the years.
Mhm.
Um, then doing intermittent fasting for me, it allowed me, I'm like super lean now, leaner than I've ever been in my entire life. But the cool thing is I'm 47, but I feel stronger, faster, and in better shape than I was when I was in my 20s playing soccer in college, you know.
Nice. Yeah. That's what I want to be when I'm 47. I'm 38 now. So
Okay.
I've got it. Yeah. I'd like to be able to have that, like you said, where you're older, but you're like, I think I'm better than I was before, when
Yeah.
I almost have that, but not on everything. But yeah, that's encouraging to hear. If you kind of, you're sort of looking at the process of eliminating certain things. And as you eliminate them, you sort of start to reach a pinnacle and you're like, wow, I'm 47. But if I look back, Yeah, I'm definitely in a better spot.
I believe it's all inflammation is the problem. The foundational problem of everything is the inflammation. So, and what I'm learning as of recently is that it was the toxins that we take in that cause the we'll call it irritation at first. So imagine it's like a little grain of sand you get in your shoe, and like when I'm running, you get like grain and sand in your shoe, and like you can feel it. It sucks. You don't like it, but you can keep going as long as you want. Maybe you develop a blister or whatever. But being able to get those irritations out of there, so then the problems don't actually occur. And so
Yes.
that's where the irritations, a little grain of sand would be the toxins that we're taking in from all over the place. And it's just becoming more aware of what those toxins are. So, and that the problem with that is that when you're going out to eat, like you go out in public and any restaurant,
What do you do? What's
yeah,
the,
even though you'll go to a restaurant and they'll tell you we're healthy food, we do this and that, but you never really know. And so the
yeah.
only way for you to like really control it is to not do those things, is not go out. So you're limited from that standpoint. So it became more about
Yeah.
preparation. And if I'm going to go somewhere, I bring my own food, my own snacks, my own water, and
Uh-huh.
just be prepared. And then also once you start fasting, fasting's like another way of preparing the mind and training the mind, just like the
Is that
because
16/8? Is that the intermittent fasting where you do 16 eight
so
hours?
I
How
Yeah,
do
I
you?
do. Yeah, I mean, you can do. There's a lot of variations of the fasting, but the intermittent fasting is I don't eat breakfast. I'll have a shake in the morning, which is probably not fasting still, but I won't eat any solid food until about 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and then once I start eating, I don't stop until about 8.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
whatever I eat is as I try ideally it's going to be, I'm not vegan completely, but it's more vegetable based than meat,
Mhm.
and more, not, you want to avoid as much of the processing of the foods. So
That's
when I
that's
hear
the goal.
people tell me like, oh yeah, I'm cutting out calories or I'm looking at a label, I'm like, anything that you're eating that has a label is processed,
Yeah, that's the mistake.
you
If you
know?
can open it from a package, if you have to rip it open or open it in a bag, then yeah, leave it alone. No
Yeah.
good.
And when you think about this logically, these big companies that they're trying to sell to millions of people, their product
That's right.
has to be the same, because I don't want to open up some bag and it's really good now, but then next time I open it up, it sucks, right? And they know
Yeah.
that. And so because they know that, they put chemicals and things into it, like preservatives or whatever, or even coloring that they put into it to ensure that it looks and tastes exactly the same and the experience is exactly the same all the time. So whenever they
That's
do that, though, that's the chemicals, that's the toxins,
that's what you need to avoid.
right?
Yeah, they need to keep the taste consistent. And
Right.
that should be worrying. You should go, if
Right.
it's tasting the same, this is how are they doing that? That's trickery. Black
It
magic.
is.
Yeah.
But I can tell you, nobody's getting fat from eating too much kale
Yeah.
or, or vegetables or, nuts and, you know, fruit is, I guess this guy definitely has sugar in it. So if you're more sensitive to the sugar, then maybe eating too much fruit might be an issue. But I mean, for me, I'm like a fruitarian. I eat so much fruit. It's crazy.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, because fruit, that's right. You were saying it has a lot of sugar, right? So that's kind of, yeah, but it depends on your sensitivity. Some people I've known guys that had like 6 bananas a day and they don't.
Right.
It's nothing for them. And then you have someone who has like an apple and they're like, ah. So I guess each to their own, right?
Well, okay, so there's books on this. So that now they say, the sugar is what leads to the insulin spike, and then the
Mhm.
insulin spike, it draws the sugar into the cells and stores as fat. So that's like by design what's supposed to happen. So if you're eating too many sugars or carbohydrates, you're innately you're going to be storing fat, and so that's where
I
the
see.
fasting will cut out the sugar and the carbohydrates and get you into ketosis. So you start burning fat for fuel.
Mhm.
It's also the sugar that you're intaking. If it's refined sugar, means they basically they take the sugar and they strip out all of the fiber. And apparently the fiber is what when it slows down the absorption of the sugar, which means that you get less of a sugar spike and less insulin secretions, which that
That's
helps
right.
with everything. So when you
Have you
eat,
ever done, yeah, but have you ever done, what are the longer fasting, like the water fasting to
yeah,
reset this? Have you ever, like, I've never tried that, but I hear it's kind of a new hot trend now to sort of reset your gut,
yeah.
right? It gets your, it gets everything reset. So now all your receptors are acting, and you make, because if you do have very high insulin sensitivity, if you did go onto a water fast, you'd reset that. Is that right?
Yes, yeah, that has been my experience. So the longest water fast I did was 7 days, and that again is like it's a very spiritual experience because you get in tune with your body and the urges that we get. And then, it's weird because after you get out about 3 days, the urge to eat becomes significantly less, but your energy starts going up dramatically, and you feel like all the inflammation goes away, your body starts to detoxify. So, all those toxins that we were talking about, they start to spill out of your cells. And
Mhm.
so you get a significant decrease in inflammations, and you feel like a rock star. And then you start to realize that it really wasn't the food that was giving me the energy. And that's the paradigm shift. That's the light bulb that I realized. Like I thought that, and they always told us you have to eat food as an athlete. You got to eat food, you got to eat your carbohydrates, you load up with your pasta the night before. I was always doing that. But then after fasting, I realized that I had way more energy and I felt way better and like I can go out
Incredible.
and play with when I was fasting. And I read books that actually said that historically speaking, in the in wars, in the battles, they would fast for 3 days prior to going into the battle. Like that was the plan, is to fast beforehand.
To
And then
access that energy,
yeah,
right? Huh.
it's
Oh, it's
interesting.
not
I mean,
there. Yeah.
so I think that a lot of this stuff has been around for a long time, but the knowledge has been lost.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's incredible. Makes me want to try it when I hear it, when I hear, sort of your account of how it worked for you. That's, man, it's tickling my head to try to give it a go.
yeah. And now since then I've been doing intermittent fasting, but when I did the 7 day fast, I got super lean. I was like 210, 220 pounds before, and now I'm like 165. So
Okay.
when I did the fasting, like you start to burn off all the fat, and so I don't really have any fat stores anymore. And
Yes.
now like I'm less inclined to do longer fasts because I don't there's like
You don't
nothing else.
need to. Yeah, as long as you're eating like you said you do, where you are eliminating toxins, you don't really need to do that reset. But if you do like a 7 day fast and then from there go to an intermittent fasting protocol, it's kind of a good way to maintain that leanness because your body now is like processing energy completely different because of that 7 days. It's
Yeah,
interesting.
yeah.
Something to think about.
Yeah, there's a lot of doctors that there was this one story I read this book, this guy, this doctor, and he had some health issues himself, and he was so depressed and had so much pain that he wanted to end his life. But
Mhm.
since he was a doctor, he felt like that wouldn't look right. So he said, you know what, I'm just gonna stop eating and I'm gonna go that way. And so he stopped eating and was just drinking water. And after like 5 days, he started feeling really good. And 7 days, like his inflammation went away. He was able to sleep again.
Wow.
12 days, his pain went away. But then, he ended up fasting for I think 21 days, and it was like he was completely cured of everything that he had, which was like it was like rheumatoid arthritis. He had some gut issues, and like it cleared up everything. And so it was one of these things like, when you're on your deathbed, like I vow to God, if I'm able to survive this, I'm going to, help other people. Right. So he
Yeah.
vowed if he survived, that he would, you know, share this knowledge with people, so that he changed his entire practice around. And so he became a practice which all he did with his patients was fasting. And so he just did medically guided fasting.
Yeah, stories like this, they have to get a stronger light on them because, this is big for, obviously it's something that could potentially change the entire medical world. steer people away from using invasive drugs and surgery and everything. You can start just fast. Give it a why not give it a try, right?
Right.
But
And it's free, right?
yeah.
People like,
Yeah.
I can't afford organic food. I can't afford the healthy. Well, then just don't eat. Right? Just
Nobody's
don't eat.
all fixed. It's amazing, right? It's great stories like that. I wish that, there were more media around those stories. I think there are, but it just needs to, it's going to become more prominent. Functional medicine, these sort of more natural ways of dealing with issues and conditions are going to start to become more and more prominent. People are going to catch on.
Yeah. And I think that, this space here with the red light therapy, it all fits together, in that we're trying to do things that will preemptively get our body in a state that is conducive with health, as
Yeah,
opposed to, the state of being when we're eating food that we have chronic inflammation, and, maybe we're indoors all the time. So we're just exposed to the wrong light sources, and,
that's right.
we're not
Artificial
moving
light.
enough.
Yeah, exactly that.
So,
Artificial light, that's a big issue as well. You got to bring in the good light and then keep out the bad light.
right. And the thing that I find is, it's like we were told all these things, that we were supposed to eat a certain way, that we're supposed to do, like we were told these things that were wrong. And
Yes,
that's like, it's the paradigm. And people that grew up in my generation, we believed all the bullshit that they told us as if that was the truth.
that's
And
right.
when
Yeah, we were questioned to just not question, right? Just to, yeah, you're right. That makes sense, right? You're the authority. Listen to your elders.
right. So I think that now it's about re-educating people, but the problem is that they have to first realize that what they knew before is not real anymore. It's not the truth. And so once they can let that go, which that's, I think the hardest part is, people, they're still holding on to what they believed was healthy or good for them.
Yeah, that's right. They're not so acceptable. They don't accept new ideas. It's like they consider it pseudoscience.
Right.
They want to hold on to their pain, hold on to their sort of, this is what I know. This is what gives me confidence. If I know this, I'm confident in it. So then I'll stick with this. If I don't know that, it's got to be wrong because I don't know it.
Right.
Kind of, it's a bit of a hill to climb with a lot of people. I've had some older people just prefer to stay in pain. They're just like, no, I don't trust it. I don't trust it. My doctor, I don't trust it.
Yeah.
And it's not about them. It's not that it doesn't work or they tried it and it failed. It's just because they prefer not to step out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
It's just as simple as that.
Yeah. It's like they know, or they think they know. And it's
Yeah,
almost like they'd rather have a low level discomfort than to venture into the unknown.
exactly. Exactly that. Yeah. The pain of like going to a place that they're not knowledgeable about, they're not the top dog, the authority, that's too high for them. They'll just like, I'll deal with this pain. I can deal with that more than that's crazy, right? It doesn't make any sense. It is obviously the human brain. That's how we're wired. That's the human condition. But
Yeah.
when you on the outside of it, you're like, wow, I just don't want to be like that myself for anything in any other area of my life. I never want to be like that. It's a
Yeah.
good example
Yeah.
of
They
what
say,
it can be.
Tony Robbins said, people, they'll only change when staying the same is more painful than the perceived pain to change.
Yes,
You know?
exactly. It has to be painful enough they have to be at the very bottom and it has
Yep.
to really suck down there. Then they instigate the change.
Yeah.
They can tell, oh, poor me as much, but the pain is never enough. Usually when you hit that bottom place, it's all inside. It's all your brain's like, okay, time to rethink, time to change.
Yep.
When people are, asking for help, usually I'm like, I don't think you're there yet. I think you just want some validation. And when you get that, it fills your cup of validation up for the day. And then the next day it's down. You need to get validation again. And it goes from day to day. You need to go super low to where nobody can help you but yourself.
Right. I mean, otherwise, it's like, like with the red light therapy, for example, you would need, the recommended is do it every day, but,
Yeah.
and that's obviously, it takes time commitment and discipline, right? So a lot of people's problem is they just simply, they haven't built up the muscle of discipline yet. They haven't disciplined themselves to show up every day and do
Yeah.
what's necessary for them.
That's
So
a chapter out of David Goggins' book. That's where you got to get on
yeah,
the Goggins train. That's what he's all about. Discipline,
Yep.
focus.
I mean, it's true, and that's where it's like some of these other things, like the cold therapy or the, um, uh, what was it? What were we just talking about? That, like fasting. That's like for me, that's the psychological game. And
Mhm.
it's that psychological game was way more important than the physical stuff that I experienced, because once you're able to develop the discipline to do one thing, you can transfer that discipline over to other things. And
Yeah,
I feel like as an athlete, I started out my life being disciplined as an athlete and showing up every day, even though I didn't want to, even though I was in pain, even though, it hurt when I got there, I still showed up. And that was like, it was like telling my body, like, I'm in charge, not the body, and that's where the separation of realizing really who I am. And I'm not the physical body. I'm the mental. I'm the one that's making the decisions. I'm the observer. I'm the one in control here. And so
yeah, yeah.
once you step into that role as that, I call it like the conscious creator, because you become conscious of what we are creating in this world. And once you become that space or that entity, it's like it's a different game. It's a different game.
It's a completely different game. And then someone outside of that just can't. They need to start at the beginning. They need to build that up until they have that. Till it's the same for them. It's so hard to communicate that though, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, no, you gotta. What is Jordan Peterson says is aim low. Like go, just start with something super simple, a very very simple step every single day. Own that and win it, and then go to the next, and that takes such a long time.
Yeah.
So everyone wants like the hero's journey, and they want to be the hero now, but it's like, no, you got to do the journey. You got to
Yeah.
do the journey.
Yep.
There is no hero here. That's the journey is the hero. You
Yeah.
become
It's the
the
process.
hero by doing the journey.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting that, every step you do, it's in things that you are able to take on and push yourself to that next level. It kind of like resets your standard. And,
Yes.
like I'm willing to do this today, right? But then, if once you get to that point, you're okay here. Now, okay, maybe I can do a little bit more. And when I was a runner and running, training for a marathon, it's like I know that I can run a marathon, but to convince myself that I can do it today, that's the
Yeah, yeah.
challenge, right? But
That's
when
exactly.
you run every day, you keep pushing that limit, and you keep and then you're telling your body, we can do this, and but you have to keep pushing yourself, and it's never easy, and people expect the stuff to be easy, or they look at like David Goggins and like, oh, it must be easy for him to run. I guarantee you, it's never fucking easy ever, right? And you
But you
always
train
push
your
yourself.
brain to like deal with it, and then you know that the outcome when you're finished, you're gonna appreciate it. So then it's already sort of instinctive, right? It's already
Yeah,
this practice is in your head.
yeah. Let's see. So tell me more about red light. What else you got on red light?
Well, I definitely would love to get you to talk to some other scientists and people that have created red light therapy
Mhm.
products that are inside my fellowship. Hearing your story and what you're all about, and obviously all the years that you've invested into your own optimization journey. There's definitely other people that I like. I'm thinking like you should talk to this person. You should talk to this person. There's a lot of names I would, and they're all in the red light space.
Okay.
So they all have different approaches. Um, there's so much going on in the space that I really feel like it's going to be something big for the future. And it's all just about getting the word out now. Like there's so much good that you do by talking about these different protocols and ways to optimize your life with diet, with simple discipline, rules and strategies. But then having the treatments and having the modalities accessible, people can start using them. They can add on, they're like a cherry on the cake, but it's very, very important. Like what you said, at the end of the day, it's you yourself. And, it's how you wake up in the morning. It's you making your bed in the morning, it's you, pushing forward. And that is something that I think, it doesn't matter what red light therapy device you have. That's something you always need to work on.
Yeah. Yeah, you actually have to use it for it to work, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, like you said, consistency, right? Simple consistency strategies works for diet, exercise, right? For treatments, like for for all the things that, even spending time with your loved ones, for your friends, your family, your kids. It's all about being consistent with your marriage, right? Taking care of the person that's taking care of you. The consistency as a practice, as a plan, as a training is so important, right?
Right.
You give, like, I've had the people use the LumaFlex, and then I'm like, hey, are you using it? And they're like, oh, I forgot. And I'm like, well, maybe it's not part of your life yet. There has to be something where it triggers you, like it triggered me, right? And it is, at the end, that they've got other issues that they need to deal with their consistency, before they can take full advantage of red light therapy and all the other amazing modalities that are out there, right?
Right. What's kind of interesting is that when people pay, they tend to be more accountable.
That's exactly right. Yes.
The
Yeah.
weirdest thing, like people talk
Yes.
about how they're so broke and everything like that, but as soon as they pay, they show up.
Yeah.
You
That's
know,
right. It's a little bit of value to it in their own head.
yeah.
They have to somehow get the value back, or they have to justify the value.
Yeah, so I gave somebody I paid for some conference, right? And I paid like $1,000 and I couldn't make it. So I gave the ticket to somebody else and to them, since they didn't pay for it, they didn't value it, so they didn't show up. And I
Yeah.
realized that, you know, I when you have skin in the game, you pay for it, it becomes more valuable to you and you'll actually show up. And I also recognize this in myself in that uh, I I was conscious and aware of the advantages and benefits of breathing and breath techniques. And so, like through the Wim Hof, but it wasn't until I paid for a course until I showed up on every single day doing it. And so then I felt like it was almost like if I didn't do it, I was losing money. And to me, I guess money was important and valuable. So I showed up for that purpose. And so it's almost like you have to pay for these things in your life that then you're able to show up on a regular basis because it becomes more valuable to you. So like
That's
buying an expensive device, like a red light, device like yours, is like once you spend that money, now you got to use it, right? Or else you're wasting your money, right?
exactly. Yeah. And you got that, and you yourself, like people that have an athlete background, that have the sort of like, no, I don't need it given to me, I'm going to work for it. This sort of mentality. It's like they understand the concept of value, of what it means to invest something, to invest sweat into, to working out, to training, that, to invest, education into to learning something, right? It's sort of those, people that I've seen that were born with a silver spoon in their mouth, with their rich mummies and daddies. Maybe they don't quite understand this concept, and that's a big disadvantage to them, because they never kind of can learn that, right? But your average person, they know, okay, I have to be accountable to myself. I guess that's what it means at the end. It's like, if I'm paying for it, I have to be accountable to myself, because that's the kind of person I am. And that kind of person is the person that I have to put myself to sleep. I have to wake myself out of bed every morning. I consider myself a credible human being. If the aliens were to come down and they had to pick, who are the best people, I would hope that I would be at least on the list. So if you have that, that sort of idea of yourself and that focus on yourself, then yeah, definitely invest, pay for something. And if you are still quite wondering whether or not you are that person, then maybe pay and try out to see if you are that person.
Yeah, no, seriously. It's weird. I mean, I have like it's just seriously, people need to spend a lot of money. It's I did this with Tony Robbins as well. I paid 10 grand to go to his business conference, and I knew a lot of the stuff that I learned there already. I'd already heard that stuff. It wasn't like new to me, but
Yeah.
because I spent 10 grand, I'm like, I got to implement this shit.
Gotta squeeze
I got to do it.
and I gotta get it. I gotta get
Yeah.
it. I'm gonna be one of Tony Robbins's, his A-listers. I'm gonna be one of
Right.
the best. Yes.
So you've been doing your business now for about 8 months, you said,
Yeah, this
almost.
particular business. This
So
one.
what were you doing before with the gyms? Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I opened up for quite a number of years. I opened up a few different gyms. I think I was 6 gyms in total, I think
Mhm.
was. But I went from gyms. I wanted to scale more. I wanted to impact more. When you have a gym location, people are coming through the door. You're kind of a little bit limited to what you can do, how you can impact.
Mhm.
So I went from like 1 gym to 2, and then I wanted to build instead of training one-on-one, one client, you train a team of clients, then you open up a gym and you have members, then you train trainers to train trainers, then you keep going and going. But yeah, like doing brick and mortar businesses is very it's limiting in a certain sense, at least for, I guess, for my personality. So I wanted to go into technology. I went into fitness technology. I, experimented with a few different companies with AR, VR. But then I guess, throughout that entire time, as I was competing, I was always getting injured. I saw recovery as something really important, especially as you're getting older, right? Like, I think that's what I appreciate with your story, where as the age that you're at, you've learned sort of like, oh, I'm good now. I'm actually on the rise, and I'm looking at 50, 55, 60. I'm gonna be good. Whereas, like, few years ago, I was like, wow, I think I'm gonna be broken very soon. Like, I think I'm gonna, I need to start repairing my body.
Right.
Stop beating up myself and more sort of, optimize myself for, I want to be able to walk properly when I'm, taking my kids to college, right? I want to be able to, be the, I gotta be thinking of myself in the future. So, when you're that young athlete and it's all about like, get it done today. Like, I gotta win this today. I'll die in the ring, because I did amateur boxing. But then later you realize, like, okay, maybe I don't want to die just yet.
Right.
I want to have that mentality, but I need to control it. And recovery is more important.
Right.
It became much more important to me. So, and then when you kind of get into the world of recovery, you sort of see like, wow, there's a lot of broken people out there. A lot of people like that are older, that have dealt with their pain for so many years, and they just accept it. Like what we were saying earlier, where they're just like, what, I'll just deal with it. This is my cross to bear. This is the challenge, that God gave me. And it's good. It's always good to have your challenges, but usually with when it comes to physical pain, chronic pain, like my mother, it was always her knees. She always had these terrible knees. She was always wrapping her knees up and doing all these special ointments and oils on her knees and everything. Just not able to really walk, not able to run, not able to exercise. She's kind of getting a little bit heavy. Sorry, Mom, if you listen. But like being able to be part of her healing her knees was actually, it meant a lot to me. And I was like, it's good to have your, these different phases in your life. The phase where you're the wannabe Superman, where you're taking over everything, you're saying yes to everything, you're winning, you're achieving. But then you go into a phase more of reflection, and you start to balance yourself out. You start to look to the future, and then you try to, then you start to go to empower people. Then you're like, okay, now you go run, you go be, the pro boxer. I'll just, assist you with your recovery. I'll do my best to like be part of the, the recovery, to make your career, more longer, so interesting, when you look back and you see all these different phases of not just your own life, but then how you impact other people, how you can continue to make impact, right, to a wider range of people.
Yeah. A good story that you mentioned, your mom. My mom, she had some issues. She had like carotid artery disease, which ultimately it was caused because of inflammation, and so she kind of got this. I had to talk with her. I'm like, Mom, this is your red flag. Like, this is either you get to choose now. Either I'm going to start changing and live, or not change and end up dying. In a few years, or whatever the case. And so it
That's heavy.
scared her enough to where she's like, I got to change, and I got to change drastically. And so she completely changed her diet and cut out all inflammatory foods. And not only did it help with her cholesterol and the artery disease, but also her arthritis went away. Like, crazy.
Wow.
Went away. Like, she had her hands were all like crippled, she couldn't squat with her knees. And then after she changed her diet, and one of the big things, she was cutting out like gluten, cutting out sugar and processed foods. And after like 2 months, she's like, she wasn't even expecting it, but after like 2 months, she's called me. She's like, is my arthritis supposed to be getting better? I said, yeah, it's inflammation, right? It's
Fantastic.
everything. It's all inflammation. So, that's something I think that we have to do. We have to do everything. You can't just do red light and expect that it's gonna it's going to fix all the problems that you're still causing with your diet, or with whatever other issues you have. You have to address all of the issues and live a lifestyle that's congruent with being healthy.
That's right.
Otherwise, you
Making
know,
full changes across
yeah,
the board, all of them. Line up all the ducks, right?
right.
You can't just have one or two things right. We know if you really want to make a change, you have to get everything sorted and
Yeah,
take the time to do it, right? Don't try to do it all overnight, but do it, step by step. Exactly right.
yeah. And they in medicine they call that just like the holistic approach, so like we're holistically the entire body, you got to affect that. Whereas the Western medicine is like, you got a sore throat, we're going to address only the sore throat, right? And it's
Yeah.
not even the cause of the problem. We're just going to give you something that'll cover up that problem and keep you going. But
Yeah.
the issue with that is that when you just cover up the problem, it doesn't actually solve what's causing the problem, but then you just continue to cause more of it, which that's what they want, because then you'll take their pills for decades,
You're
until you
addicted. You'll
die.
be stuck on it. You won't make a change. Yeah. That's the big dilemma. That's what we're trying to fight against, right? I guess as a collective of people with all these different, with these healthy, natural ideas that we're trying to get people out of their drug addictions.
Right.
From
Yeah,
pharma.
seriously. So what's next for your business?
Well, yeah, we're going to continue growing the office here in Miami. Got some big major partnerships on the rise. So it'll be a good year, a fruitful year, lots of travel. I got Dallas, got New York. I might be going over to Europe as well. Distribution in most countries all over the world is all opening up. So the focus now is the US. But yeah, it's a constant grind. It's the David Goggins, stay hard is something that is definitely needed when you're growing a business in the US. And yeah, because every day there's a problem thrown at you. It's just like, but I appreciate it. I like it. I think it's just like you said, as an athlete, you condition yourself to, accept challenges, get through it, and then get inspired by winning it to go and do another challenge, to repeat the thing again and again,
Yeah.
you know.
I mean, it's
So
just
yeah,
like a psychology, right? Where your mind's telling you like, this is too hard. I'm sick of it. I'm tired. It's too much. You just push through, and
yeah,
once you get past that thought, then you're on to the next, like benefit, and
that's
obviously with
it.
that new benefit comes in a bunch of other crap that you won't like either.
That's exactly right. Yeah. If it was easy, everyone would do it, right? Come on.
Exactly. So where do you get these? I know you had a background in China. I saw that in your bio. Did you utilize that connection to manufacture these, or were you doing the
That's
manufacturing?
it. Yeah. We're manufactured in China.
Okay.
We're manufactured in a very prominent, well-known red light therapy factory. It's run by a Dutch company.
Mhm.
Um, but yeah, they make so many red light therapy products all over the world. They've got a great design team, great support,
Mhm.
and they're like right near Hong Kong, so it's easy to get the product out.
Cool.
But yeah, China. My wife is actually Chinese as well,
Oh, cool.
so yeah, I can speak a bit of Chinese. I know how it rolls over there. I know
Right.
you
So
have to.
what's your international plan as far as rolling that out?
So Dubai and Australia, parts of Europe, most of Asia is all covered. I think Mexico, Latin America, these are some distribution channels that we're trying to open up faster. That will be coming sort of in the next, say, month or two. But yeah, most region distribution is covered. So we're just focusing on the US, signing some really big partnerships, some big organizations, building our retail network, building the reseller network.
Mhm.
Yeah, and sort of streamlining the whole shipping process and everything. I think we're going to be moving some manufacturing even to America as well, which will be a
Hmm.
good idea. But yeah, it's really fun. It's a good it's a good grind. It's a good challenge. That's something that it makes going into the boxing ring look easy. But yeah, it's a lot of exciting things coming for LumaFlex this year. And even bigger next year. Like I'm looking at, if we do, if we stick onto it and we keep going, we really put our heads down, it'll be a really exciting year. And that foundation will help us then for, the big year, which will be next year. That's yeah.
Have you looked into any like celebrity endorsements or had any?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different opportunities that have been thrown at us. And I myself have got some personal contacts with athletes, with mostly in the boxing world, because I've had a lot of I've had a lot of experience with boxing, combat entertainment, and everything. But but yeah, I like having the support of a celebrity and athlete, and as long as it's sort of it goes well with what our message is, and obviously with what the brand is, does it work for them? Like a lot of times you'll get an athlete that's like, oh yeah, I'd love to work with you guys. But I'm like, can you just use the product, like it? And then if let's go from there. Like you have to, like the product. It has to make sense to you. I can't just be, another company. It does, you need to communicate it as if it helped you in your journey, whichever journey that was. That's sort of the first step. So yeah, that's always the conversation I have, whether it be, an influencer or a pro athlete or a celebrity. It's more about them, like, use it, really tell me your honest feedback on it. If I feel like you're using it a lot and you enjoy it and you love it, you're all about it, then let's have a deeper discussion.
Cool. Because you've been saying boxing, I can't not think about this whole Tyson what's his name
Yeah,
fight.
Tyson Fury. Oh, but also Mike Tyson's fighting against Jake Paul too, so that makes it interesting. But yeah,
Yeah,
like the
Tyson lives here in Vegas, so I'm just wondering, old man. I think maybe the red light therapy might benefit him, right?
yeah. I've sent to, like, Tyson Fury's got one. I have a meeting with Anthony Joshua's team. I think it's actually this week. I think it's Monday, right? Yeah, it's this week sometime. And they're interested in talking about, like, his team is interested about looking at the UK region and owning the UK region. But who else in boxing? Zhang Zhilei, he's like ranked 6 now. He just lost his fight against Joseph Parker, which was rough. But yeah, Mike Tyson. Wow, I would love to just send him one. Just send him one and just be like, give it 2 weeks. Just play with it. If it's fun, you enjoy it, that's good. Then yeah, let's talk. Let's have a meeting. But Mike Tyson, come on, he's the G. He's the top.
Right.
He's still the best. Yeah.
That would probably be a really good match with you guys.
Yeah. Be fantastic. As a personal fan, someone that loves combat entertainment and
Right.
looked up to all those top guys.
And my understanding, he's pretty open-minded with alternative type stuff.
Yeah. He's not he's personally, him as a person is he's a really much better person than he was back in his day. Maybe his boxing, obviously because he's older, is not quite there, but as a human being, he's such a great person.
Yeah.
So when you listen to his podcast and how he interviews people, just the outlook he has on life, he's almost like gone full guru. It's nice to to hear that from someone that in the whole combat world was like the killer, like the guy that would, I'll eat your children, like the guy that the ear biting, monster. You listen to him now and you're like, wow, this guy really is he's so connected, right? I would love to have a conversation with him just about life.
Yeah. It's funny, the words that you're using, connected, and from what I know, he ventured into the psychedelic world and did like DMT, and I'm not sure if he did ayahuasca, but I know that I've been in that whole world for a long time, and it is the language that he uses is intimately connected to the experience that he had. And the understanding of the way the reality works, and again, kind of understanding who you are, right? In that we are the ones that are. So my understanding of this is like, we get the energy from the source. We'll call it, I call it the God energy, or the universal energy, which is all surrounding us. And so the energy comes in through us and through the medulla oblongata, and our will is like the floodgate, where we can choose through our free will to do whatever we want with this energy that we're getting, we all have this choice. And it was most people, they don't refine the energy, and it's like a spray. They're spraying out their energy all over the place. It's going all over the place. But when you focus your energy like a laser beam, that's when you can do specific things, and it makes it look like people are superhuman, right? But
Wow.
it's not really superhuman. It's just like I describe this like people have a floodlight, like their light's just going out all over the place. And so when you realize that all that's wasted energy and you refine it down to specifically, I'm going to say no to all this stuff, but I'm going to only do this. And that's when you can become like the master. I think you can become very quickly. And like Tim Ferriss talks about becoming the master in 4 hours or whatever, right? But what he's really
Yeah,
talking about is just focusing the energy on whatever it is that you want to do. And
yeah,
I've taken that concept and applied it to my business. I applied it to my relationships. I applied it to my working out. I mean, it's just you just need to apply that. Whatever you're doing, you have to focus your energy in on it. And when you do that, you can achieve some unbelievable things that other people will perceive as superhuman.
yeah, yeah. But we all have the capability of doing it if we just focus on them.
Right.
It seems superhuman because it's like the world is full of zombies, full of dead
Yeah,
that are
exactly.
scrolling on their phones, just uptaking any kind of content now. If you eliminate all that and you get hyper focused, you can achieve like superstar or superhero status.
Right.
When back in ancient times, I'm sure it would be very normal, to be able to achieve what we can, what we, potentially what we can achieve.
Right. I mean, you look like Mike Tyson, for example. He by all accounts, people would look at him and like he's got superhuman strength or ability to knock people out or whatever it is, like he's doing something that's not normal, right?
Yeah,
But how did he get there? You know, maybe he had some genetic skills, but the truth is he's got muscles just like you and I have, but he took that ability that we innately already have and he refined it and made it into what he has, right? So we perceive him as superhuman, but he's not. He's just doing the same thing that all the rest of us have the capability of doing. He's just doing it way better because he focused on it.
yeah, that's right. I mean, he's not. I mean, he obviously his background, had a lot to contribute to it, but he just found a way to be hyper focused in not just in boxing, but a particular kind of style of boxing where you go into the pocket and you're
Mhm.
able to like throw like very like it's not a defensive strategy. It's a very offensive into the pocket, move to the side, attack. Like use his style is simple, but it's so focused. Like you said, people have tried to imitate it, but there's too many other styles and approaches to boxing that are inside them. It kind of gets it watered down, you could say. But
Mhm.
he had this one way of attack that he was so good at. It was made him such a killer. That's interesting. That's
And
like the way you talked about that. That's a
yeah,
yeah.
and the same the same thing if you look at other athletes like Tiger Woods did the same thing, and like his history, his dad trained him since he was like 4 years old to do is like repetition over and over and over the same thing, which then it just became muscle memory, and so I mean it technically. If I would have done this since I was 3 years old, I don't know if I'd be like Tiger Woods, but I'd damn well be way better than I am now because I don't play golf very often,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
So,
Yeah, even a little bit of that focus can get you through like a round with the boys, right? Okay.
right.
That would be enough. But yeah,
So.
that's a good little nugget of info to chew on. I'm gonna chew on that for a while, see how I can optimize my focus throughout, on different things I've got to do. That's a good, yeah, I like that.
So, back to a little bit on the red light, you mentioned the two wavelengths. Now with the different devices out there, is if like if I get one wavelength or like one light and it says it's a specific wavelength, is that how do we how do we know that it's a
Oh,
specific
yeah, every device should tell you what their nanometers are. And if you're picking devices like they can have multiple red light wavelengths, multiple infrared light wavelengths. That bed I was talking to you about has 630, 850, and 950. So it has an additional infrared light. That's very, very powerful when it comes to for inflammation. So you can, it all depends. There's another device I know that's for the brain. and it has a nanometer even higher than 950 to get into the brain to optimize your cognitive energy and focus. So like you'll get multiple infrared nanometers and multiple red nanometers. I would pick just one red and two infrared nanometers if possible, because obviously infrared is a lot more important, especially for us like athletes that are dealing with conditions or inflammation that is more deeper inside our bodies rather than just surface skin. If I was boxing, like if I was active again and I was boxing and we're getting like hits to the head, getting bruises, that's where red light can really help. But if you're not really getting scratched up or beaten up or slapped around, like you're not a cage fighter or something, I think one red light nanometer is enough, I think.
So you mentioned infrared, and I know that I have like an infrared sauna, and there's no light that comes out of that stuff. So what does that mean when it says infrared?
Is it up the top? Does it shine down, or is it like a belt?
No, it's infra. Is it infrared? I mean, it's just they're like panels, and it's there's like a sauna, a dry sauna, and the heat is from the infrared.
Yeah, there's so many of those out there. There's so many saunas. I mean, saunas, they're good. I don't think they do as well as a sauna, and then using red. But just use a sauna, like, including using like cold plunge and then red. But it depends on the device that you have. I know some devices, there's not as much actual red light into the sauna to be called an infrared sauna. There's not enough, and especially your body's not that close to the actual, the bulb or the LED. If you're far away from it, the further you're away from it, the more the light, reflects it. It's lost. You're not getting, you're losing your treatment. So obviously, if I was in a sauna and I had like the red light frame sort of around like a belt, I would put my back right up against just so that the light could travel straight into my skin. But then I'm not sure if it would be hot, right? Like it would actually might heat up. The device itself might heat up. That's why I just take the LumaFlex into the sauna. I just hold it there. But yeah, I've seen so many different saunas out there that are infrared saunas. I'm not really sure which one's the best, because there's some with the light down, somewhere it comes at like different angles. I guess it depends on the one you've got and what use case it is. But I would always think like a sauna, like make sure that sauna gets nice and hot. That like a hot sauna is still, one of the most valuable things that you can have. Get your ice bath and then have, your red light therapy, and just try to have it, if it's for pain, if it's for inflammation, put it as close to the body as possible. If the device heat is too hot, then obviously that's going to be an issue. You want a device that doesn't heat up, so it allows the light to basically get on your skin, so you're not losing any light, it's not reflecting. A good interesting way to see, if you had like a device with red light, you put it up against your skin and you're in a black room, and the moment you take it off your skin and you put it even just a slightly bit away, all the light will reflect, and the whole room lights up like red. Then that's the light, disappearing. It's all sort of reflecting and getting, it's coming away from your body. So I always try to get the device, any kind of device, as close as possiso. It doesn't really work when you work with a panel and you're like up close to it.
Yeah,
but, depends. Yeah, depends on what panel you got.
So what you're saying is that the distance from the light makes a difference.
Massive difference. Yeah. Massive when it comes to anti-inflammation. Yeah.
So I know, when I use the panel, I'm not like right up against it, right? So, so maybe I should be more up. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I would get close. But it depends. Some panels I've seen, they have like a what would you call it? It's like a lens. It's like the LED behind a lens, and the lens is like, the job of that lens is to try to focus the light as much as possible. It's like it looks like a bulb, but it's like a glass bulb, but it has like it's sort of like a cylinder look, so it kind of focuses it. You could check if it has that. Then I think the design of it is so that it supports getting the light to you. But I've seen panels where it isn't. It's like people are doing it like this. It's like, I don't think it's going to do much.
Yeah, I know my panel is just like what you say. It's got little circular lenses, it looks like.
Yeah, they're trying to focus the light, to make it sort of magnify it to go to a target.
Now, I've also heard that they're saying that red light is good for vision, for eyes. Do you have any information on that?
Yeah, like infrared light, you shouldn't stare at it. But then I've heard doctors use it to cure eye diseases.
Hmm.
So it all depends on the device, the application. But cures dry eyes. You know,
Hmm.
it can cure so many different conditions in your eyes. But but still, I would never recommend anybody to look at an infrared, like to stare at infrared. That you should wear those goggles. Um, but it is used to cure eye disease, and
Yeah.
that's something I'm gonna send you to your email is a Google link full of all the clinical studies of red and infrared light.
Yeah, that'd
It's
be great.
put together by like one of the top photobiomodulation doctors in the world, and he just uploads clinical research there. He just
Hmm.
keeps uploading. So it's extremely vast. So you can like type a condition, like you won't be able to find anything. You have to use the search option. So you have when you go in, you just type the condition, and then it will pull up all the related clinical research about that condition. It could be, yeah, it could be dry eyes, or it could be like earaches, or like, you know, ankle arthritis, or, sciatica, or you could just, anything that comes in your, in your community, anyone who, has a question, you can use this as a resource. It's a very, very valuable, Excel sheet that's, actually a lot of people, a couple hundred people all over the world have access to it. So it's something that's regularly visited. It's view only, but
Right.
you can pull up any clinical study.
Cool. Yeah, I'd like to check that out. Just out of curiosity, you mentioned your mom with her arthritis. Can you tell me a little bit more about how she's experienced the red light?
Yeah, she's fine now. Like, well, I don't know if she's telling me that because she wants me to be happy, or like wants to feel proud, You're like, come on, mom. But I also gave it to my dad. Both my parents have been using red light for it's like right up since the very beginning. Because my mom, I'm a mama's boy. I'm very much a mama's boy.
Mhm.
And moment obviously, like, I was able to, I sent her a device. I was like, put this on your knees, wrap it. It can shape around your knee, right? You can use the straps that are provided. You can put it in your knee, do the front, do the sides, do the back every day, mom, every day. And she said, oh, I feel better now. It's not, I always, for her, of course, I'm not, I know when she's trying to make me feel good, but yeah, she's never had trouble with her knees up to date, which is
That's awesome.
fantastic. My dad, it was his neck
Hmm.
neck. So putting it like this on your neck.
Right.
So he would wake up in the morning. It was always something wrong with his pillow or something, but he'd always, he'd grunt and groan about his neck for the whole day about with all of us. But yeah, that was right at the beginning. And as soon as possible, I was, it was got them in front of red lights. It got them, these pain conditions that I could hear them scream about, as a kid. I was very happy to get that sorted. And even just recently, my uncle, he taught me how to play cricket. He was someone that was very, very special to me. He's like suffering from very something. He's actually think he's got cancer.
Mhm.
Um, so I think you know, getting a device to him, I'm just like, I can't make any promises. I know the entire family, everybody's looking at you, and they're all, very, very concerned, but this is the least I can do. Please just use it all the time. And then I ask my dad, because, they're brothers. I ask him just to keep checking up on him,
Mhm.
make sure that yeah, if he's on his last legs, then, that's what God planned. But then at least I can get some red lights in before that happens, right?
Yeah, maybe some methylene blue or some hydrogen peroxide or something. You
Yeah,
know.
but he's very much like those old guys that, like we were talking about, where he almost likes the pain. You know what I mean? Oh, this is, it's my time. He sort of sees that as a strength, is when you kind of accept it and you deal with it. He sees that as like a strength.
Right.
But yeah, I'm doing my best.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough for me. I have family members and that it's people you can't help them unless they want help,
Yes.
you know? So, I have all these things that I could recommend for my family members, but then if they don't want to listen to me and they want to listen to their doctor, then okay, what can we do? The people have to make a choice.
That's right.
So, all right, John, I think we're at the end here. Did you have any other things that you felt were important to be said?
No, I mean, that was an amazing conversation. I certainly learned a lot. Thanks so much for that. Obviously, thank you so much for letting me share. Anyone and everyone who has any interest in red light, just go into YouTube, type out red light, start simple, start watching some YouTube videos. LumaFlex.com, that's my website with the Essential and the Body Pro. This is the Body Pro. The Essential's red. And yeah, please join the journey, join the cause, share the light.
Absolutely.
Bring to the light.
Bring them to the light. No, I appreciate your time. And I definitely will send me more information. And as well as the other people that you felt would be important for me to speak with to share their story and, share their information. The more, the merrier.
Yes. Yeah, I'll write you an email. I'll get you. I'd love for you to talk to some of these scientists. They're great.
Yeah, so I'm like I continue to as I get older, I'm like I feel like I can do more. So I need to challenge myself. And so that's why like this last year I ran another marathon. In the past I was into like the Spartan races and stuff. So I was doing like hardcore Spartan races. And I did also what really got me started is you remember that show American Ninja Warrior?
American Ninja Warrior, yeah.
So I thought it was the coolest thing, and my kids were watching with me, and I'm like, I can do that stuff, and the kids were like, Nah, you can't. I'm like, watch.
What? Hold my beer.
Yeah, so I was like, that's what got me started on this whole path of like biohacking stuff because I had to get in shape for the Ninja Warrior thing. I had to lose a bunch of weight because you're doing all this hanging stuff. So I had to lose weight, and then it kept going down the path, and here we are, 6-7 years later. But I like to keep pushing my limits and doing new things. So I'm interested in your product, and at some point, I probably will do some more athletic stuff and push myself in different limits, and it'd be interesting to for focused rehab. I'd be curious how it works.
Yeah, well, we're gonna stay in touch. I'm gonna get you one.
Awesome. That'd be cool. And my business that I do on a day to day, I have a business that we offer biohacking services, which include like IV therapy, ozone therapy, hyperbaric chamber. We have red light. I do float therapy, cryotherapy. I mean, and I'm trying to add in all these different things that I've utilized under one roof. So.
Yeah.
This would just be one more thing I think would be really cool for the people that would want it,
I've got so many, I got so many referrals that I'll definitely send you an email, an extensive email. That sounds really exciting.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. Well, thanks again. I appreciate you, John, and we'll be in touch.
Thank you.
All right, and you have a great day.
Gandhi said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world. You must choose to become superhuman." Thank you for listening to this episode of the Becoming Superhuman podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Schmidt. Be sure to follow our social media channels. We'll see you next time.